Hi guys, welcome to the third and final installment of Human Resources. We already looked at recruitment in one video and we used another video to look at selection. And today we're going to be looking at induction, we're going to be looking at placement, we're going to be looking at salary determination as well as implications of the HR function on the 4X that are prescribed by the exam guideline. I'm the General and this is the Masterclass. Okay guys, if you're a follower of this channel, you know how we start every topic. We always look at the exam guideline. In this instance, we are asked to look at induction, we are asked to look at placement, we are asked to look at salary determination and fringe benefits. So there are actually questions that we are given there. I'm not going to go into them, but you can use this as a checklist to check if you are done with this topic later on when you are done. So let's start off by looking at placement. Number one, selected candidates are placed where they will function optimally and add value to the business. What are we saying? Remember, these procedures follow each other. We said recruitment, we attract them, they apply. Then after they've applied, in selection, we receive those applications, we select through an interview process, and we identify the right person. We give them an offer in writing, then we do the contract. After that, we now need to place this person at the right place within the business at a position where they will add value to the business. Not everybody will fit everywhere. So we need to check that this person, where are they most suited to fit into the business without any hassle so they can be as productive as they can be. That is placement. And then we also look at the placement procedure. What are the steps we take when we are looking at placing someone? Number one, the employer sets responsibilities for the employee. So we are comparing, there is a standard here, which is the responsibilities of the job that are set by the employer. Number two, employer compares the expectations of the job and the competencies of the employee. So we check, this is what we require, this is what the person offers. We want the person to go out there and market the business, for example, but this person is shy. They are in marketing, but they are shy. So maybe they are a strategist. They must sit behind a desk somewhere. They will offer us more value there than on the street trying to recruit people. So we look at the job that we're looking at, and we also look at the person and see which job are they most fitted to. Only then can we place them there. Number three, determine the employee's strengths and weaknesses through psychometric tests. So this may even get to the point where we do some tests, some psychometric tests to see what type of personality is this person so we can put them in the right place. But after all is said and done, the job of placement is to make sure that every employee is placed in the right position where they are going to add the most value to the business. Then we look over to induction. We have placed the person is now in their right position, but they are new. They don't know much about the business, about other people, about the premises, and about what the business does. So that's where induction comes in. New employees need to be familiar with their new work environment, products, and services. So through induction, we do this. We introduce them to the premises, we introduce them to the colleagues, we introduce them to management, to the business, to the products and services of the business, and so on, so that they have as much information as possible to get them going without delay. What is the purpose of induction? Number one, when we say purpose, by the way, what do we mean? Purpose means the reason why we do it. So this is before we have done it. This is why we want to do it. I'll explain why I am saying that. Then number one, introduce new employees to management and colleagues. So our goal is to introduce new employees to management and colleagues. Number two, introduce new employees to their workspace. So they need to know, okay, I'm working with so and so, and this is my office, this is where I'm working, and blah, 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 blah. Number three, give new employees a tour through the building, through the premises. So you show them, this is the restroom, this is the reception, this is the canteen, this is your office, this is your workstation, this is where you report to the manager, this is the CEO's office, and so forth. We take them through the premises, we show them the parking, we show them everything so that they do not feel lost when they come in. And all of this is at the level of the purpose, what we are trying to achieve by doing induction. Then come the benefits. Benefits of induction is what we as a business will get after successfully doing the induction process. Our purpose was to introduce new employees to management and colleagues. So what will be the benefit that is aligned to that? The benefit is employees will now be familiar to their colleagues and to the management, and they will be able to be productive quickly. Now, that is a benefit which is derived from the purpose. So there's a connection between the purpose and the benefits. The purpose is what we intend to do before. The benefits is what we derive from the process after doing it. So number one, new employees can establish relationships with core employees. That's only because we introduced them when we spoke about the purpose. So the purpose was to introduce them, and now what is the benefit? They have established relationships with core workers. Number two, allow new employees to settle quickly. So we introduce them to the premises, we introduce them to the products of the business, we show them around. What do we get from that? It allows employees to settle in quickly and become productive immediately. Again, a benefit here is being derived from the purpose. Number three, ensure that new employees know the rules. Remember, we said as part of the employment, there must be the code of conduct. So we need to let them know because, like we said in the other video, one of the reasons for termination is misconduct when someone breaks the code of conduct. So it is during induction that a person is taken through the code of conduct to know what is acceptable and unacceptable in the business. So having said all of that, well, now we know the purpose for induction. We also know what are the benefits we derive. Then it's easy to understand what are the aspects of the induction program. So every employee must be taken through an induction program. There are certain activities that they must be taken through. Now, what are those aspects? Number one, introduction to colleagues. So we have already said why it is important. Now we are stating that it is an aspect of the induction program. Number one, introduce them to colleagues. Number two, safety regulations and rules. So each employee must be introduced to this. Number three, oversight of the business. They must be taken through the business to see all the processes that the business goes through. What are the products of the business? What is involved in production? How can they impact this themselves in their new position? Then number four, it's a tour around the premises. All of this, we have already seen the benefits and why it is done. But here we are specifically stating that these are aspects of an induction program. Then we are also going to look at another part which we deal with when we are looking at induction, which is training. Sometimes employees need to be trained because what the business is doing is not exactly what they may have done when they were studying. So there is some specialized knowledge they might have to receive through a program. That's where training comes in. And the importance of training is as follows. The employee is more able to perform in their job because we have capacitated them by giving them the training. If we don't give them the training, they may not be able to do the job as well as they should. Number two, shows that employees are appreciated. If you give your employees training, then they know that you care about them, you care about their productivity, you care about their prospects going forward, because how skilled you are also determines how much you can earn. So it shows that you care about your employees. Number three, allow employees to improve their skills. So the employee is improved as a person. They become better than they were before. Hi guys, sorry to disturb your video. I'm just here to discuss with you 3 ways in which you can support the channel. Number 1 is to watch the ads. So guys, the ads that come before the video, during the video, and after the video are linked to this particular video that you are watching. So if you don't skip the ads and you actually watch, we're going to be rewarded by the advertisers. Then number 2 is to invite me as a guest speaker to your event at your school, a school function, prize giving day, revision classes, and so on, I'll gladly come. All the information you need is in the description box below. Number 3 is the Masterclass talk. So this year I will be visiting you. I'll be coming to a city near you. Come and join us for revision classes, exam preparation classes, and so on. All the information will be shared on this channel. Now let's get back to the video. Now we move on to another important aspect, which is salary determination. What do we mean by salary determination? We mean the process that is followed to arrive at someone's salary. There are two main methods that are used to determine a person's salary depending on the type of work that they do. So we've got the time related, and we also have the piecemeal method of salary determination. So let's go deep into them. Workers are paid according to the number of items produced. So here, the salary that will be received by the employee is not predetermined offhand. This salary is going to be determined by how many products or how much services they have produced during a specific time. So those that produce more will be able to be paid more, and those that produce less will be paid less. So it's now down to the employee, and this is used mostly in production-oriented businesses like in your factories and so forth. It's based on the number of units produced. So you will be paid either after completing a certain amount of work or after having produced a certain number of units, and then you are paid a part for what you have done. So you are having your meal piece by piece, hence the name piecemeal. Number 2, workers are not remunerated for the number of hours worked, no matter how long it takes to make the items. So let's say you are making a chair and it has taken you 2 hours to make this chair. It will not matter that it took you 2 hours to make the chair. You will be paid at the rate that is paid for a chair. If someone else can make the chair in 20 minutes, which means in the same amount of time they've been able to make 6 chairs, then they will be paid 6 times what you have been paid, even though both of you have worked for 2 hours. What does that mean? It means here time is not important at all. What is important is the number of units that you produce. That's all we look at. But over in time related, what is important is time. Number 1, workers are paid for the amount of time they spend at work. So workers are working, whatever they are producing, we are not looking at it. We are looking at what time did you clock in, what time did you clock out, and how many days have you worked this month. You have worked for the full month, so you are going to be paid a predetermined salary for that month. It is according to the amount spent at work, amount of time. It is according to the amount of time spent at work and not necessarily what you were doing at work, what you produced at work. Number 2, workers with the same qualifications are paid on salary scales regardless of the amount of work done. So generally, we are not looking at the amount of work done. We are looking at your qualifications. How qualified are you? Workers of the same qualification doing the same job will receive the same salary. We are not looking at the output. We are looking at the amount of time spent at work. Then another important area we need to look at is the link between salary determination and the BCEA. Number 1, the BCEA sets conditions for fair labor. Remember what I said when we're talking about the contract in the previous video. If you haven't watched it, I'll pin it for you to check it out. What we discussed was everything in the contract must only be what is in the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. No contract can contravene the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. It is the supreme document. So any contract must only comply with what is in the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. So that's what we mean here, that even salary determination is determined by what the BCEA refers to as fair labor practice. Number 2, businesses can use different compensation methods to pay their employees. So the fact that we are talking about 2 methods, we got that from the BCEA. That is the link. The salary determination methods are provided for by the BCEA. If the BCEA did not say we could do that, it would not have been possible. Number 3, payment of salaries must be based on whether the employee is permanently employed or employed on a fixed term contract. So the length of the contract, the type of the contract should determine how a person is paid. Most people that are on a permanent contract, they receive a time-related salary. So they receive the same amount every month. They are paid per month according to the time they spend at work. But someone who is on a fixed term contract may be paid according to the number of units that they produce. And that is said in the BCEA. We also see it in the salary determination. So this is an important question that will come asking about the link between salary determination and the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. Now, before we talk about some key implications of some X on the HR function, I want to thank you guys for subscribing to the channel. If you haven't subscribed, I would encourage you to subscribe and engage with us. Please like, comment, and share the content with your friends, in family groups, in school groups. We are about to reach our target of 5,000 subscribers before the end of February. Thank you so much for your support. Okay, let's look at something that the business must do as a response to the laws that we are given. The first thing we are going to look at is number one, the mandatory fringe benefit, which is the UIF, the Unemployment Insurance Fund. What do we mean by mandatory? Mandatory means it is a must. It is required by law that every business must provide this fringe benefit. The fringe benefits we have looked at so far in previous videos were optional. It is up to the business to do it or not to do it. But this one is mandatory. The business has to do it. Let's look at number one. Give financial assistance to workers when they become unemployed. So during the time when someone is employed, they are supposed to take 1% from that person's salary, which is for UIF. It is going to SARS, but before they can take it there, they must put their own 1% from their own money, which means this one is not deducted from the employee's salary. So the employee contributes 1%, they contribute 1% and remit 2% to SARS. So that is the money that when somebody is no longer employed, who was previously employed, can go to SARS and claim from that money while they are waiting for their next job. Number two, the fund also helps the dependents of a contributing worker who has died. So what if a person has been contributing and then they have died? What happens to that money? The dependents, starting with the spouse and the children. So if the spouse is available, then the spouse is the first beneficiary, followed by the dependents, which are the children. They will be able to withdraw that money from the fund. Number three, employees must pay contributions of 2% of the value of each worker's salary per month. That's what I explained. That 2%, 1% is coming from the employee salary and 1% is coming from the business salary. They take that 2% to SARS, and that is kept for a rainy day. Number four, the employer and the worker each contribute 1%. UIF contributions are paid to SARS by the employer. So all employees have to do this. It's not optional. Then let's look at implications. What do we mean by implications? Implications means the X that we looked at previously. What bearing do they have on the human resources function? What must the business do to comply with what those X have spoken about? And in this area, we are only going to focus on 4X. So the first one we are going to look at is Labor Relations Act. When we say implications, we mean what must the business do to comply with the Labor Relations Act? Number one, workers cannot be dismissed easily because the CCMA's processes have to be followed. That's what the business must do. It must not dismiss workers willy-nilly because they have to follow CCMA procedures. That's clear. Number two, the human resources manager must allow workers to form workplace forums and to join or form trade unions. That is a must. That is something the business must do. And this, when we say the business, we mean the human resources function. So the human resources manager must make sure that employees are allowed to join trade unions, form trade unions, and to form workplace forums. It is their right. Number three, promote negotiations and employee participation in decision making. So these three things that we just mentioned here are ways in which the business can comply. What must the business do to comply with the Labor Relations Act? The second act we are going to look at is Employment Equity Act. Number one, ensure equal pay for work of equal value. That's what the employment equity prescribes. So this is what the business must do to comply. Number two, ensure that affirmative action promotes diversity in the workplace. Remember, guys, I told you in a previous video on legislation that whenever you see affirmative action, it means we are talking about EEA. And here we are saying they must promote affirmative action to encourage diversity. It's straightforward. This is what they must do to comply with the act. Number three, set employment equity plans and monitor them regularly. So they have to have a plan of how they are going to implement their EE goals, their employment equity targets, and monitor them regularly. This is what they have to do to ensure they comply with the EEA. We move on to the third one, Skills Development Act. What must the business do to comply? Number one, ensure training in the workplace is structured. So it must not be done willy-nilly. It must be structured such that when people are done, they will receive qualifications, occupational qualifications that are recognized. Number two, identify the training needs of the employees and provide them with training opportunities. That is part of that act. It is predetermined that employees are supposed to check the needs first and provide the training to meet those needs. Number three, human resources manager must set up training programs according to SDA objectives. So it goes on and on. It's actually not limited to this, but I want you to see this type of question where they are asking for implications. All your answers must address what the business must do to comply with that particular act. Then the last one is the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. The human resource manager should ensure that number one, workers only work 9 hours if it's a 5-day week or 8 hours if it's a 6-day week. Why? Because they cannot work more than 45 hours, remember? So it is the responsibility of the human resources manager to ensure this happens. That's what they must do to comply with the act. Number two, overtime is no more than 10 hours per week. That's another provision of the BCEA. So to comply, the business must make sure overtime is not more than 10 hours a week and is not more than 3 hours a day. Number three, a break of 60 minutes after every 5 hours of work. That's another provision, meal breaks and rest periods. So the business manager, the human resources manager must make sure that this is adhered to. Then lastly, 6 week leave in a cycle of 36 months or 3 years. That sick leave is also a provision of the BCEA and it must be followed as such. Thank you so much for watching this video up to this point. For more information on this, watch this video right here. I'll see you next time. God bless you.